Whatever the sample we have got, that is not representing the population. Population has a equal chance of being studied as a sample, that is called as random sampling. It is also called as probability sampling. So what do you all mean by census? Census is nothing but it considers the entire population for its study. Hello everybody, I am your Divya ma'am lecturing Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, the Temple of Excellence. I welcome you all for today's session, that is your session 2 on collection of data. The topics for today's discussion: census and sample survey, random sampling, non-random sampling, sampling errors, census and NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization. So in the previous chapter, in the previous class, we have discussed about the collection of data and various collection of data. What are the different sources of primary data and what are the different sources of secondary data and how it is important, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages, what is the questionnaire and what are the types of questionnaire we have discussed, and we have also discussed about the pilot survey. So in today's class, without wasting much of our time, let's discuss about what is census and what is sample survey. Moving further, census. So what do you all mean by census? You might be hearing this terminology very frequently. You know, once in 10 years, census will be conducted by our government. So Government of India conducts census once in 10 years. So what do you all mean by census? Census is nothing but it considers the entire population for its study. For example, in a statistical study, if they consider all the population, all the units for the observation, for getting the information, then such a study is called as census. I repeat, in statistical study, if they consider all the population, all the individual units, all the individual observation, all the population is considered for the study or to avail the information, then it is called as what? Census. So census is conducted for getting the information. So in order to know the population, in order to know the literacy rate, what is the employment rate, what is the unemployment number, and what is the illiteracy rate, to know all that literacy rate, illiteracy rate, to know all those things, we will conduct survey in our country. We will conduct survey in our country. So census simply means it is a statistical study in which all the population or universe will be considered for availing the information. So this census method is also called as complete enumeration method. So why it is called as complete enumeration method? Because it consists the entire population. So India's total population according to 2011 census, it is 121 crore. So what is this information? It is nothing but the census. It is nothing but the survey. So when you consider the entire population or the whole universe for the study, then such a method or survey is called as census. Moving further, we have the word called as sample. So I have talked about the population. So we have discussed about population. So what is population? The whole universe, if it is considered, then it is called as what? Population. What is the sample? A part of a population is taken for the study, then it is called as sample. In that, we have random sample. So before that, let us understand what is sample is all about. So let's assume in our classroom itself, we have how many students? 50 students. So what is the total population? 50 is the total population. So among the total population, if I take for our study 10 students, then it will be a sample. So this population study requires huge cost and huge time. So in order to avoid the time and the cost, so we have the technique called sampling. So what is sample? Sample is a part of population. So this is a whole population. In this whole population, if we take a part of it, is called as what? Sample. So this is a sample and this is a population. So what do you mean by population? Population consists each and every individual in the universe for the study. To avail the information, a researcher will use all of the universe population to study. Then it is called as census method. Then when you take up a part of population for the study, then it becomes what? Sample. So what is a sample? Samples means a part of a population. 50 students are there. So among 50 students, if we take 10 students which represents the entire 50 students, then it becomes sample. So whatever the sample you take for the study should represents the entire population, should represent the characteristics of the population. So then only whatever the sample we have taken, from that sample we can draw the conclusion and generalize it to the entire universe. Then only it is possible to interpret the results accurately. So sample is a part of a population which represents the populations. Moving further, in sampling, we have techniques of sampling. So before that, let us discuss what is the advantage we have in census method. So since census is conducted every 10 years, so whatever the information is there, each and every information is availed through a direct enumeration method. Means directly they meet the people, they go to each and every houses and collect the information. And what are the problems, major problems of our economics that we have, that is poverty, unemployment, poor infrastructure, uneducation, literacy rates. So of all this information we are getting through statistics, we are getting through the proper collection of data. So when you use census method for collecting the data will be more accurate, because you people collect it in hand, you people collect it in person with visiting each and every household. The data will be more accurate. But when it comes to sampling might be, there will be certain errors in sampling, because whatever the information that you people have taken will not match the population, sometimes will not suit the environment what we wanted to generalize it. So sampling has certain disadvantages. Meanwhile, we have disadvantages in population, that is census method as well. So both hand in hand, there will be an advantage as well as disadvantage, but we have to take up the advantages in order to enhance our further statistical analysis. Moving forward, we have, so how to collect, you got to know what is sampling is all about. So sampling means a part of population which represents the entire population. So it is just a part of a population. So when you select a sample, what are the things to be considered? How to select the sample? What is sampling process? So all this we have to understand. So we have major two techniques of sampling. One is random sampling, the other is non-random sampling. The word itself says random means from the entire population you take the sample randomly, just in random wise you just pick up the sample. This is called as random sampling. What it is called as? It is called as random sampling. So what is entire population? In that entire population, you will be picking a few of the sample randomly. So in this random sampling, all the population in the universe have equal chance of being selected. So in the previous example that we have saw 50 students in the classroom. So what is the population? 50 is the population. So all 50 students has a equal chance of being selected as a random sampling. Randomly I might come and take up 15 students or 30 students, randomly I might pick, but all the 50 students has a equal chance of being selected. So that is called as random sampling. So what is random sampling? Random sampling, so in that population, each and every individual has a equal chance of being selected for the study or to take up the information. That is called as random sampling. So in random sampling, in the entire population, we simply pick up few of the random for our study purpose. So that is called as random sampling. Moving further, we have different types of random sampling. So what are the different types of random sampling? Simple random sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling, and multi-stage sampling. So in each and every stage of sampling, we will be having different criteria to pick up the sample. So as of now, you can just understand what is random sampling and what is non-random sampling. So in your further days, I'll be explaining you what are the different types of random sampling we have. When it comes to non-random sampling, under non-random sampling, you do not have a equal opportunity in the population to be selected. Means based on certain judgment, based on quota, and based on the purpose of a researcher or a statistician, the information will be collected, the sample will be picked up. Here the entire population doesn't have a equal chance of being selected. For example, the same example if we took whatever 50 students we have in the classroom, so among that 50 students, height 5.5. So based on that quota, height 5.5, only those students I'll be selecting for the study purpose, to take up the information, to collect the data. So such type of technique of collecting the data, collecting the sample is called as non-random sampling. So based on judgment, based on the purpose, and based on a quota, the sample will be selected, and such a technique is called as non-random sampling. So under non-random sampling, we have further types: judgmental sampling, quota sampling, convenience sampling, and snowball sampling. So as I have told you, in a further class, I will be explaining you the different types of sampling methods. So as of now, at this point, so what is random sampling and what is non-random sampling, to know that is very important for you people. Moving forward, we have non-random sampling error. So what is the sample error? So let us discuss first what is error. Error means what? Mistake. So it is mistake, might be intentional or unintentional, but here while collecting the sample, what error will occur, what mistake will happen? Whatever the sample you have taken, whatever the information that you are presenting might be not accurate, or it might not represent the population. So whatever the conclusion wanted to be derived, and that conclusion might not be accurate. So that is called as sampling error here. So what is error? Error means mistake. So while taking up the sample to represent the population, why do you take up the sample? Because to collect the entire population information, each 50 students I have to come and collect the information, means it takes lot of time for me. At the same time, it takes lot of money, and the cost and the energy also will be more, the resources will be more. So in order to avoid all this, in order to be more productive, we take samples. So whatever the sample we take, it should represent the population, and whatever the information that we have to interpret, whatever the conclusion we have to generalize to the entire population, that might be not accurate, or whatever available information we have got, that might be not accurate or up to the point. It is called as sampling error. So sampling error because the sample is not the whole population. Why sampling error will occur? Because as I have told you, the sample is not the whole population. From a part of a population we have picked up a sample, and that sample should represent what? The entire population. Since it's not the whole population, whenever we are presenting it or whenever we are generalizing it to the entire universe, the whatever the information we have given might not be apt or accurate. For this purpose, sampling error will occur. Ma'am, you should ask me, ma'am, how to minimize the sampling error? So how can you minimize the sampling error? By taking up the large quantity. By taking large sample, sampling error can be reduced. By taking up large quantity of what? Sample. By taking more number of sample error can be reduced. So poor sampling method, it also might be for the poor sampling method. As I have discussed, whatever we have random sampling and non-random sampling. So in random sampling, whatever the methods we have followed might be not suitable for our study. So that is why, my dear students, while selecting the data, for what purpose we are selecting the data, and what is the question that we wanted to address, and what is the main objective of the reason behind the study should be known. So when you understand what is the purpose, what is the reason behind the study, then whatever the sample you have to take, data you have to take, you will get a good number of data. At the same time, whatever the conclusion you wanted to derive, you will arrive it at a apt time. So that is why, because of the sampling method also, poor sampling method also, we have sampling errors. And the questionnaire and the whatever the questionnaire we have given, so that questionnaire might not be answered by all the respondents. So there only we don't get the information properly. And next, behavioral effects. So all these are the reason for sampling error. So we have non-sampling error. So what is this non-sampling error? It is not because of the sampling, it's not because of the sampling purpose, but the error has occurred because of this called non-sampling error. So what is this non-sampling error? It is not because of the sampling, it's not because of the sampling purpose, but the error has occurred because of the sampling bias. So what is the sampling bias? While collecting the sample, while picking up the sample, what I might do, I might take the favorable student. So I might take any of the XYZ student according to the researcher favor. So what happens then? Whatever information you wanted to give will not be apt. So that kind of errors are called as non-sampling error. So it is not by the picking up the sample, it's because of the other factors. One is sampling bias, by taking other people. So based on the convenient of a researcher, convenient of a data collector, so he picks up the sample, he picks up the data. And the other is because of the non-response from the respondent. So the data, whatever they wanted to give, might not be given properly. They might refuse to give the data, or the data, whatever they have acquired, they have taken, and that might not be accurate. So for all these things, the non-sampling errors occur. So sampling errors can be reduced through increasing the sample size, but non-sampling errors cannot be mitigated properly. It cannot be taken up. So you have to think what kind of data you have to collect, so in order to reduce the error. So if there is error free, the whatever the conclusion information you give to the society will be true, will be apt. But if the errors are there, whatever the conclusion you take will not be acceptable by the entire universe. Because of this data, the government is making the major decisions. The government is taking up the lot of initiative for us only. So if the data are not given properly by us, then ultimately who will suffer? It is the society that we suffer with the losses. So keeping all this in mind, so the error should be minimized. Next, we have Census and National Sample Survey Organization. So what is this National Sample Survey? So it is a governing body. So what it is a agency that has been there for us for collecting the data for our census. For every 10 years, you will be having a census. So in 2011, 121 crore was the population, and it has to happen in 2020-21, but it didn't happen because of the COVID and other political reasons. So it will happen in 2024. So the next census will be 2024. In 2024 census, all of you have to participate and provide the right information, because based on that information, as I have told you, the government will make policies. Whatever the upcoming schemes that has been coming up for the well-being of the society is based on what? Based on the data that you provide for census. To talk about National Sample Survey Organization, so it is a body that is there which will collect the data and provide them in a tabular form and provide that information to Government of India. So it also provides various reports through various journals. It provides the statistical data, and through that data we will take up the better decision. The government will take up the better decision with regards to the development of our country. So National Sample Survey is a very important organization. So in this organization, you have to understand, so why this National Sample Survey of organization we have is because we have, in order to collect those data, and that data will be put in a tabular form, and that tabular form through various journals and through various reports that has been published by NSS will be provided for the government as well as for general public. So based on that, the government will take up the decision making. So this helps the Government of India. So Government of India has developed this NSSO. So it is an agency which provides the data in a very meaningful manner. Whatever the census they collect, whatever the information they collect, so that information will be published and it will be available to us. So sampling error, as I have discussed, data is most important thing in economics. As I have told you, why it is important, because based on that economic data only, the government is able to take up the decision. So budget will be allocated. So this is the expenditure that we are giving for the education sector, for the well-being of society. So they bifurcate the expenditure amount and they allocate to the public. So based on what they are giving the allocation of money, based on the data, based on the economic data what we are getting. So it is very important to look after the data very properly. So collecting of data is done through different methods. So understanding of sampling and sampling error is important. So understanding of sampling and sampling error is important. So in this chapter, in this class, we have already discussed about what is census method, what is sampling method. So census is nothing but when it collects the entire information from all the population or the universe. That method is called as census method. So a part of a population is considered for the study which represents the population, that is called as sample. So in sampling process, we have two different types of sampling process. One is what? Random sampling. The other is non-random sampling. It is a technique. So in random sampling, what we have, each and every population in the universe has an equal chance of being selected for the study. So each and every population has a equal chance of being studied as a sample, that is called as random sampling. It is also called as probability sampling. And when it comes to non-random sampling, it is non-probability sampling. So in non-random sampling, each and every population doesn't have the equal chance of being selected. So based on the purpose, based on quota and the convenience of a researcher, the sampling will be selected. So that is random sampling and non-random sampling. We have already understood about what is sampling and what are the different techniques of collecting the sampling, non-random sampling and random sampling method, and we have discussed about sample error. So what is sample error? Error is nothing but the mistake or the whatever the information we want to collect, and that information we have not accurately collected. So that might be the sampling error. So whatever the sample we have got, that is not representing the population. Or inferences, what we have, inferences means conclusion. Whatever the conclusion we have to generalize, whatever we have expected, it is not up to that. It is called as what? Sampling error. So how can we mitigate the sampling error or minimize the sampling error? By taking up the large size of sample. So when you increase the sample size, sampling error will automatically reduce. So what is non-sampling error? So while collecting the data, the respondent might not be given proper information, or data you have taken inaccurate. So all those are non-sampling errors. So errors, to mitigate errors is important. Why? Because based on this economic data only the major decisions of the country is taken. Census, we have discussed what is census is all about. So census every 10 years it will be conducted. So in 2011 census was conducted and the data it is there. So NSSO for India, to know the census of India, we have National Sample Survey. So that survey will provide us the India's entire population, what is the literacy rate, what is the unemployment, and what are the urban people, what is the population of rural people, so what is developing, what is underdeveloped, everything, all those data is being provided for India through an agency called National Sample Survey. So that's it for today. Hope the session was very interesting and we have learned a lot of interesting topics today. Thank you so much once again for joining me. Stay blessed, stay fit, stay healthy, and keep smiling. Smile is the biggest jewel you can wear. Thank you so much.